Tom Petty had it right. Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Lakeville Area School Board Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Lakeville Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Phil Raines. I am the owner of Prevailing Wisdom, a local company, and I am also the chair of the Lakeville Area Chamber Access and Issues Group. I'm going to be the moderator tonight. I'm glad to have everyone here. Also for tonight, we have the timekeeper of tonight's forum is Colleen LeBeau of LeBeau and Associates, and she is also a longtime member of the Access and Issues Group. So welcome tonight. We did invite all 4 candidates to join us for tonight's forum. We only had 2 that were able to make it tonight, so welcome. Glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We have already organized candidates in attendance by random draw. Basically, we're going to vary who starts first in giving their questions. We've gone over these rules already. The candidates this year that we have are Carly Anderson on the right and Cinta Schmitz on my left. So I should say that's my left. So perfect. Thank you for participating tonight. The candidates were sent a list of potential questions in advance with the understanding that we would also take audience questions tonight via email. So for those of you that are listening to this live, this will be taped and put onto the website later, and obviously can't email us at that time. But please, if you're watching live right now, you can email your questions for consideration to Krista@LakevilleChamberCVB.org. That is Krista, Krista, at LakevilleChamberCVB.org. All right, personal questions or questions directed at any specific candidate will not be accepted. We are asking our candidates to answer every question, so please make it a general question. All right, and again, going through the rules, each candidate will receive 2 minutes for introductions and opening remarks, 2 minutes to respond to each question, and then 90 seconds for wrap-up and closing remarks. We drew the straws before, and starting off is going to be Cinta Schmitz, and we're going to give you 2 minutes to give your opening remarks.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, I'm Cinta Schmitz, and it's quite an honor to be here tonight. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event and say hello to our online viewers. I don't have a fancy degree or extraordinary award that qualifies me to serve on this school board. I just have life experiences that have shaped my values, beliefs, and my willingness to stand up for truth. Speaking the truth has made me quite unpopular with some members in the community, but that's okay. It's not a popularity contest. It's a fight for our kids and their future. I am, however, uniquely qualified to bring so much perspective to the school board. My years playing collegiate and professional sports has enabled me to persevere through many trials throughout this campaign. Being team captain in high school and college has taught me to handle adversity with open dialogue and understanding. It has also taught me to lead with grace and be willing to allow my teammates to have a voice, even if we disagree. Being a minority woman with hearing loss has taught me that I can empower myself to tackle the barriers that threaten my purpose in life. We never know how God will use our weaknesses to slay our giants. God has positioned me to work with a diverse population of kids throughout my life. From coaching, volunteering with Special Olympics, working with children who have complex needs, to working with underprivileged children in high crime areas, I have learned just how unique every child is, and that their needs can be best met by showering them with love. Lastly, I bring to the table the perspective of surrounding districts. My kids are attending schools outside of Lakeville, and while this was a very difficult decision for my husband and I, we are their best advocates in making sure that their needs are met. It is my hope that my presence on this board will help unify our teachers, our students, our parents, and the community, because after all, we are better together.
All right, thank you. And Carly.
Thank you. Good evening. I first want to thank the Lakeville Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, for being engaged stakeholders in our community's civic life and education system, and for providing the forum to share my priorities for our district. 6 years ago, my husband and I made the decision to open enroll our daughter in ISD 194 because of the strong track record and reputation. 3 years later, we made the permanent move to Lakeville so that we could raise our children in this growing and thriving community. This past year and a half has been hard on all of us. A global pandemic has brought forth new challenges and highlighted pre-existing ones that need more of our attention. Over the past year, I have spent considerable time getting to know our city's leaders and learning about how the larger systems function and interact. I have also spent time connecting with parents, students, and teachers to gain different perspectives about the various experiences in our learning community. I am running for the school board because I am uniquely qualified to help our community move forward during these challenging times. I have worked in the mental health profession for over 10 years and serve in a leadership role in a large healthcare system. I have been elected or appointed to national boards and understand how they function effectively. I am accustomed to navigating complex situations that involve various opinions and perspectives. For instance, in my work, oftentimes a patient and their family member do not agree about what brought them in. It is not my job to take sides. I work hard to hear all perspectives, gather the objective data, and provide feedback in a way that gets everyone on the same page in service of doing what is best for the patient. This experience very much aligns with the current needs of our district. We all want our kids to succeed, but not everyone agrees on the best path. I have the skills and expertise to listen to all perspectives with empathy, find solutions that work for all, and work to unite us so that we can move forward together. Perhaps most importantly, I am a mom who cares deeply about my children and yours. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you both. I'm going to get us started on the questions then. So if you're ready, we'll dive right in. This first question is about job preparedness. Okay, just a little note on procedures there, no big changes. So the first question on job preparedness. It's going to go to Carly first. Lakeville is a growing, thriving community with businesses increasingly struggling to find workers. Demographic trends only increase this problem into the future. What would you change or improve in the curriculum to better prepare students with the skills and job training needed in today's workforce?
Thank you for this question. To solve workforce shortage, we need to continue to build a strong connection between the business community and the district. I strongly believe that when students have direct contact and exposure to jobs, they are more likely to consider pursuing them in the long term. I fully support the Work Experience program, where students can earn academic credit while being employed by a local business. This experiential learning program is something ISD 194 could consider growing to foster career exploration and skills training for our students. I also see the potential for collaboration between the district and business economy to become even more mutually beneficial. One way to achieve this would be to establish a real-time data exchange, whereby schools start sharing information about student interests with businesses, allowing those businesses to target specific students for potential employment. This could foster more meaningful connections between students and businesses through targeted mentorships or job shadowing. In addition, a large reason for my support of this year's referendum is because we know that strong, thriving schools help to attract families to Lakeville to live and work. While I continue to support students for our 21st century global workforce, we need to also support a strong local economy. A recent study by the University of Minnesota and the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce shows that in the coming decade, the population of Minnesota will grow at a pace significantly slower than previous years, and that our population is growing older and becoming more diverse. To embrace these changes, we need a school district ready and able to offer a high-quality education to students of diverse backgrounds. I am running for school board because I want to ensure that our district continues to be a place that attracts families to meet the needs of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Cinda.
Preparing our students for life after school should be the primary goal of our district's curriculum. And regardless of a student's decision to attend college or to move directly into the workforce, our students need to be proficient in core subjects and obtain life skills such as project management, problem solving, and teamwork. Students' proficiency rates in core subjects are concerning, and I believe increased focus on the basics would benefit many students. Reviewing the MCA scores for the past school year, I feel that we are leaving some students behind, and that will negatively impact the workforce and businesses. A workforce of people unable to read or do basic math does not benefit anyone. Students need to engage in problem-solving projects that require them to draw from different academic disciplines and manage multiple steps to complete projects. Every employer needs a workforce that knows how to solve problems, work in teams, and think critically. Let's get back to teaching the core subjects and leave everything else out of the classroom. Politics, social agendas, personal agendas. Our focus should be on preparing each student to become economically independent and equip them with life skills that will help them navigate successfully through adulthood.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We're going to move to the second question, and this time, Senta, you'll be up first. This is the question on equity. What is your position on education equity and opportunity for all students, and what is your strategy for achieving it?
I believe every children needs an equal opportunity to learn and succeed, or every child needs an equal opportunity. And I want to be absolutely clear that our schools need to be loving, accepting, and accommodating for each and every student. I uniquely understand the value of inclusion for people with diverse backgrounds and abilities. Given my life experience, I view the debate around these subjects a little bit differently. I believe students deserve equal opportunities to learn, and I am committed to eliminating every barrier to these opportunities. To me, education equity means ensuring every student has the resources they need to be successful. It does not mean creating or expecting equal outcomes. I believe we lift all learners by treating them as the divinely created individuals they are, rather than dividing them by race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. Where achievement gaps exist among students, we need to get to the root causes of those disparities. What we will discover is that parent involvement is a huge contributing factor to student achievement, and we need to open as many doors as possible for parents to be involved in that learning process.
Okay, thank you. Carly.
Thank you. Last month, the leaders of some of the most prominent groups in public education, including the Minnesota School Boards Association, issued a joint statement in support of education equity. They noted that too often we fall short of this goal with respect to our students of color, LGBTQ students, students living in poverty, and students living with special physical or emotional needs. I could not agree more. Equity in education is one of my key priorities. When students are not only accepted but celebrated for all of the unique aspects of their identity, they thrive. And when students learn to appreciate how their classmates' identities shape their experiences and perspectives, our education community thrives. To be very clear, this does not mean that some students must lose opportunities for others to succeed, but that all students receive a world-class education that provides them with the tools they need to thrive and to lead in a diverse business community. Regarding the strategies, first, I fully support and commend our district's ongoing efforts to promote equity in education, and I will work to advance the vision to create a learning system that works for all. Second, Lakeville has grown by more than 25% in the past 10 years and is becoming increasingly diverse. As our school district grows, we must attract and retain a workforce that reflects the diversity of our students. We need to ensure that our students see themselves represented in teachers and staff. And finally, we need to continue to support and further develop programs that help us meet the diverse needs of individual students, like Ready, Set, Achieve, the Lakeville Area Learning Center, Special Education, AVID, English Learner Services, our gifted programs, Link 12, and community education, as well as programming through the chambers such as Lakeville Works and Future 101. Through these and other efforts, we can ensure that all students have the opportunity to develop the skills they need to thrive in a global workforce. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, next question. Again, we'll be starting with Carly. This one is about mental illness. All right. Mental illness continues to be in the forefront of many conversations around education today. What role and responsibilities do you think the school district has in addressing these topics among our youth?
Thank you. As a clinical neuropsychologist and a practicing mental health provider, this is one of the most important topics to me because I see the positive outcome when mental health issues are addressed in a timely manner. I have also witnessed the extremes of what can happen when mental illness is not identified or properly treated. Suicide is currently the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. Recent estimates indicate that in a given year, 18.8% of high school students have serious thoughts of suicide. As someone who has been personally impacted by suicide, I understand the profound grief that accompanies that kind of horrific loss, the questions that will be forever left unanswered. I do not want our district to lose another child or parent to suicide. The COVID-19 pandemic has only further challenged our mental health. A recent study out of the University of Minnesota showed that educators, students, and families all reported the need for more mental health support as one of the top 3 challenges faced last school year. Stigma around mental illness is one of the biggest problems that we need to address. It begins with educating our entire community so that we see problems when they are present. Mental health difficulties look different in kids than they do in adults. When parents and teachers are better educated on what the warning signs look like, we can work to intervene early on. Similarly, educators and parents need to recognize their own signs of stress and burnout and how to build better coping strategies. If you aren't in a good mental place, and we've all been there, thank you, you can't teach effectively and you can't parent effectively. As a district, we can better communicate about mental health to every member of our learning community. If elected to the board, I would utilize my skills as a mental health provider to educate, investigate the available resources, find the gaps, and search for solutions to ensure that our students, educators, and staff are more fully supported. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Cinta?
My family knows firsthand how important it is to have the school district involved when it comes to mental health. When my daughter attended Lake Marion, we met regularly with the school psychologist, her paraprofessional, the special education team, and principal to discuss her care plan while she was there at school. And we also collaborated with the therapists outside of school to make sure there was continuity of care and they were meeting her needs. The school was very successful in eliminating barriers to learning, and as we know, unaddressed and undiscovered mental illness equals learning loss. Our schools currently offer a wide variety of mental health support for students and their families, but I think we need to put more emphasis on building relationships in the classroom. Parent-teacher relationships need to be strengthened in order to better understand each individual's needs. I never met with her mainstream classroom teachers when discussing her care plan, but feel like that could have been beneficial to us in terms of addressing root causes and being able to pick up on warning signs that indicate mental illness. Developing these relationships builds trust among the students, teachers, and parents, and enables the schools to make proper recommendations for each student based on their needs. There will be situations a district can handle at the school level, and some they will need to transfer out to other professionals. I believe the school is capable of acting as the liaison between students, parents, and the community to refer parents to the proper care needed in every situation. I don't feel that we should rely solely on the school to diagnose and treat all of the mental health needs of our students.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and next question is around changing issues. Cinta, I believe you're going to be starting on this question. So regarding ever-changing issues that need continuous decisions made, such as COVID-19, how will you prepare yourself to make those decisions? And how will you handle communication with those who do not agree with your position?
In order to navigate what's best for our schools and community, I would research data from different outlets and make decisions based on facts and not fear. I would also encourage more collaboration between the school district and legislators so we are on the same page when it comes to making decisions that impact the health and well-being of our students. To help build trust and understanding with those who disagree with my decisions, I will be transparent regarding state and federal recommendations and mandates, as well as financial incentives or disincentives that may require consideration, because these things put pressure on the district and impact our funding. I will also share my data sources in order to ease tensions and reduce the fear that I would be solely making these decisions based on my medical stance for medical freedom of choice. And despite all the chaos of COVID, I think it opens a huge area of opportunity to improve the mental and physical health of our schools. Implementing curriculum that teaches students about natural immunity, ways to keep their immune system primed to fight diseases, could help ease their fears of getting sick. and teaching students about healthy food choices, sleep, exercise, and how much stress impacts the immune system would equip them with knowledge to make decisions that will not only prevent and treat acute illnesses naturally, but will help them better understand how chronic diseases develop.
All right, appreciate that answer. Carly?
I feel extremely well equipped to step into the school board position to help navigate our current situation with COVID-19. Working as a leader in a hospital setting, I am extremely familiar with how to adapt service in response to rapidly changing circumstances, such as this pandemic, as well as how to evaluate the outcome of decision-making. It is just as important to acknowledge setbacks and make corrections as our situation with this virus evolves. As a scientist practitioner, I use objective data to inform my opinions about what are likely to be the safest and most effective solutions. I also realize the importance of taking in the voices of our community when making decisions to ensure that all feel heard and represented. Within 5 years of being hired at the Minneapolis VA, I moved into a position of leadership. This was in part due to my ability to gather information from multiple sources, consider all angles, and make hard decisions that benefit the whole. We are currently in a situation that involves uncharted territory and unprecedented levels of stress and burden for so many. Current issues often feel polarizing and divisive, yet many also want to focus on following the direction of our leaders and uniting in that mission so that we can focus on what matters, supporting all of our kids. If elected, my goal would be to unify our learning community so that we can move forward together. I also have experience making decisions that not all support or agree with. In these circumstances, I think it is important to make sure you are accessible to those who oppose your position and focus on perspective sharing. Much can be gained in respectful dialogue when you come from a place of curiosity and willingness to actively listen to someone who disagrees with you. At the end of the conversation, you may not entirely agree, but you will have connected, listened to one another, and moved closer to consensus. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that response. Okay, we're moving right along here. I tell you,
It's going fast.
it is going quickly. This is fantastic, and again, I'll just express thank you both for being here, and thank you for your responses so far.
Thank you.
All right, the next question is about Lakeville Works, and I believe Carly will be up first on this one.
All right.
All right. The school district and the Chamber of Commerce have a participation called Lakeville Works. The mission of Lakeville Works is to create awareness of in-demand careers in Lakeville. There is a large focus on the skilled trade industry. The school district has worked directly with the chamber and their members to create awareness among students, educators, and parents. What is your stance on the need for this type of program and continuation of the partnership?
Thank you. Lakeville Works is a critical program to create awareness of our local workforce needs among district students and their parents. Our district's curriculum, class offerings, job fairs, and communications have all evolved for the better based on the impact of the Lakeville Works Collaborative. I'm incredibly supportive of bringing real-life learning and on-the-job skill development directly into the classroom and feel that partnerships between various community groups and stakeholders are critical. I'm so impressed to learn about the different ways that the district has gotten creative to incorporate trade programs into our schools. I also really appreciate that there is a one-stop shop website for students to access job openings and internship opportunities, and absolutely feel that this should continue to help keep as many people employed locally as possible. A number of published public interest surveys have shown that the perception of trade schools has improved during the pandemic, so the continuation of Lakeville Works is not only ideal, it is critical to our community's economic growth. Our students need to be aware of the multiple options they can pursue after graduation, not just higher education like 4-year or 2-year degree programs, but also opportunities for certificate programs or to enter the workforce directly through apprenticeships. I also see strong ties and the need for continued collaboration between the district, our community education programming, and the business community. We need to ensure that we are offering quality, affordable childcare so that parents have the support they need to stay in the workforce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cinta?
This is actually my favorite question tonight because my husband's a plumber. He has been for 25 years, so we are huge fans in my household for skilled trades. And according to my husband, one of the biggest barriers to growth for his business is the lack of reliable and skilled workers. So there's a huge need for this program in Lakeville schools. I think it's important that we make sure students understand how many options are available once they graduate. While college is a great opportunity and fit for many kids, we do a real disservice to our students to position trade schools as a fallback or a lesser option for post-secondary education. The Chamber's business partnerships with our schools provide a variety of opportunities that connect students with careers. I would love the opportunity to work with the Chamber to fully support these community partnerships and would be honored to be part of a task force to expand the program and get more students involved.
All right, fantastic. We definitely appreciate the support for the Lakeville Works program from both candidates. So it's been an excellent source for the development for the Lakeville Chamber. So, all right. Next question is education imperative. All right, and I believe Cinta, you will be up first on this. What do you see as the education imperative in the community over the next 3 to 5 years?
I believe students must be familiar with the basic concepts of science, reading, and math in order to develop critical thinking skills and make informed decisions about personal and societal issues. Academics must be the focus in the classroom. I feel our district should be encouraged to build on national standards in science, reading, and math and seek higher levels of performance from every student. The district is doing a great job connecting kids to businesses with programs such as Lakeville Works, but I believe finding ways to expand programs like this opens up opportunities for students to become productive citizens of the community. We need to empower our public schools to foster children's creativity, curiosity, courage, and collaboration by offering and creating more project-based learning programs they can participate in throughout the school year. Close cooperation between schools, parents, and the community is one of the keys to closing achievement gaps. Because parent involvement has a strong impact on student success, Lakeville needs to come up with ways to encourage involvement and make it easier for parents to be involved in their children's education. Lastly, I believe we need to take advantage of programs and opportunities that are readily available for parents but underutilized. For instance, Lakeville is one of the only districts that has a special education parent liaison, but few people know about it. So keeping parents informed and involved is key to developing 21st century learners in the upcoming years.
Okay, thank you very much. Carly.
Thank you. The education imperative in our community is to prepare our students to thrive in a 21st century workforce and to do so through equitable curriculum that allows every child to reach their full potential. I like to think of solutions through the lens of short-term and long-term. In the short term, we need to assess the impact of the pandemic on each student's academic progress and well-being and ensure that we are helping our kids catch up. This will not involve a one-size-fits-all approach, as the pandemic impacted families and students differently. Our approach should be both qualitative and quantitative in nature, incorporating assessment results as well as teacher and parent input. The supports put in place during COVID should continue, including one-to-one devices for all students, in-home internet support, and increased social and emotional support to foster learning. Our teachers also need our support now more than ever, and we must continue to invest in their well-being and professional development in the long term so that we can retain the excellent teachers we have in this district and attract top talent as our district grows. An ongoing long-term focus is narrowing the achievement gap. This is a multifaceted issue that involves removing barriers at all stages of education and begins with ensuring that all families in our community have equitable access to early childhood education. These early learning years are critical for starting a child off on the right foot to be successful throughout their lives. And access to quality early childhood care also allows parents to enter the workforce, strengthening our local economy. Finally, we need to focus long-term on preparing our students to thrive in a 21st century workforce. This means investing time and resources in advances in technology, STEM education, innovation, and ensuring that our children excel at collaboration, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to pause for just a sec and remind people we have one more pre-prepared question. So if you are watching this program live right now, then you can get that question in to Krista at lakevilleChamber.org. So get those in. Like I said, this is the last pre-prepared question we have, and it is about working together. I believe, Carly, you will be up first on this one. The current climate is especially reactive this year. What would you do to work with your peers, both fellow board members and school administration, to ensure that Lakeville students and families are considered above politics and personal agendas?
Great question. I think it's important to first note that beyond what people might see or read about in the press, school boards are responsible for a great deal more decisions and have oversight on far more areas than one might think. For a board to run effectively, every member must recognize that while you will have and can voice your own opinion, you are serving and representing an entire community. Collaborative and consensus-building conversations are vital. One reason that I've not pulled my personal political beliefs into my campaign is because I want to make it clear that if elected, I will work to represent every student, every parent, and every staff member of this district, not just the ones who agree with me politically. Personal politics do not have a place in a well-functioning, nonpartisan school board. This past year, public schools have become a political battleground. Hot-button issues that pervade our media are a distraction to the typical functioning of our school board, leading to division that is negatively impacting our staff and students. As a parent who has advocated for representation at the school board meetings for more than a year now, I have seen this play out firsthand and am very familiar with the emotionally charged environment. To better understand this environment, I have engaged in courageous conversations with various leaders in Lakeville and with close friends in our community with whom I know I don't exactly agree. I have shared and I have learned a lot. These conversations are challenging to initiate, but they move us closer to middle ground. More of these conversations need to happen. Together, we can move away from the noise, refocus our collective vision to be both short-term and long-term, educate our community regarding best practices, and work to unite over shared goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Santa.
I truly believe the only way to lower the temperature around conflicting issues is to have open, honest, and civil dialogue. We build trust, become aware of our differences, learn to accept alternative solutions, and ultimately resolve conflict when we learn to communicate. By engaging in dialogue, every person can walk away feeling like they've been heard. This isn't happening right now, unfortunately. Parents in the district are frustrated at the lack of accountability and follow-up. Feeling like we are being ignored intensifies feelings of anger, frustration, bitterness, and rejection. I've talked with many parents, students, and teachers, and it's crystal clear that political and personal agendas are being pushed in the classroom. Students, parents, and teachers should never fear retaliation for speaking out against it. I would work with our leaders and staff to create safe environments that allow for open discussion without consequences in order to allow every voice to be heard. I would also work to clearly define what constitutes political and personal agendas and enforce consequences when policies are violated. Every person needs to be accountable for the decisions that they are making. I would also request more classroom transparency in order to bring comfort to parents wondering what their children have been taught throughout the day.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. We do have some questions that we've gotten from the audience. So this will be a different sort of look at how people react to things. As we see things come forward from the school board, we often have to react quickly on things. So let's see. We're going to start off with Senta, I believe, on this. Please give an example of your experience working with unions.
Well, it depends on what kind of union you're talking about, because my husband was in the plumbers union. As far as that goes, I don't have experience working with unions, but I'm very open to working with them. I know they're very important. I know unions ensure that the playing field is kept level for compensation, benefits, opportunity, and advancement for educators, which greatly ensures they stay engaged and effective, so they're able to teach our students. Unions also support other educators, and they ensure preparation, time, technology, and security for the teachers. They also provide liability insurance for teachers, which in turn supports the district. And when there are conflicts between teachers and administrators, unions protect and support the relationships between these groups. So they're very valuable to the school. And they're wonderful things that the union provides as far as the teachers' unions goes. But sometimes parents do question whether the union has a little bit too much pull with what the students and families have in the best interest, and they wonder if they use their power or influence to push their agendas. So it would be a great opportunity to assure parents, students, and this community that unions are there for good reasons and support our teachers.
All right, perfect, thank you.
It's a really good question. Through this process with running for school board, I have spent a lot of time not necessarily working directly with unions per se. I do have some experience working with psychology unions in my history, which I know are important for advocating for a discipline. And so, in psychology, some of our, in terms of lobbying and things like that, we ask for better pay. We ask to have our rights be met, to be recognized in spaces where we need to be recognized. So it's not the case that I necessarily have, I think this question could be specific to our staff and teachers unions. I haven't necessarily worked directly with the heads of those unions, but I've connected with a lot of the teachers. What I have learned over the course of this campaign is it's really, really important to connect with the people who are the boots on the ground. So, as a parent, I think I know a certain amount of things, and then you connect with the teachers and you connect with the staff who actually are the ones in the buildings doing the work. One of the things I know that is really, really important for our unions is to make sure that we are attracting teachers to Lakeville. And so, making sure that our benefits and wages are competitive, that's a huge thing. Making sure that teachers are represented in all the spaces and staff are represented in all the spaces, that their voices are heard. And so while I don't have the direct union connection, I think I have a really good understanding of how they function, why they're there. And during this pandemic, I think one of the things is just making sure that our teachers and staff are protected, that they have the rights that we expect for our children as well. We want everyone to be safe and protected. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next online question. We're going to start with you, Carly.
Sure.
What is your experience with fiscal management of an organization?
That is a great question, too. So I serve as a treasurer on a national board in neuropsychology. I took over that position about a year ago. One of the things that I realized that I think does apply to potential work as a school board is you really do have to think about the budget right in front of you in the short term, but you also have to be exercising a vision for long term. And so one of the things with my experience serving as a treasurer is, knowing what kinds of donations are coming in, what kind of funding can you expect, how does that inform what you do for that organization, what kinds of things you get involved in, what kinds of charitable donations you make, things like that. With regard to the school board, I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't understand very well in terms of how the fiscal management operates. I learned some additional information yesterday when I was attending the Chamber of Commerce event when Mr. Baumann spoke about it. But things I understand are, the school board gets the money or knows what the money is 2 years in advance. But that, when you think about having to support a growing community like Lakeville, you really have to be able to make projections and understand growth. And I think what that means is you really need a close collaboration with city leadership so you can understand, how are our schools going to grow? What are things we need to be anticipating in terms of costs? What are things that, if we need to make budget cuts because it comes down from the state, connecting with, basically creating committees with people who are actually, again, the boots on the ground doing the work so they can help us understand where those cuts are going to stay away from the classroom, the furthest away from the classroom. So I think I have the experience in terms of just the over budget, but I think in terms of the projections and those kinds of things, that would be where I would really bring something unique to the school board. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Senta.
Hey, it's a great question too, and I agree with Carly that there needs to be, financial transparency, especially on the school board. In years past, I was the camp director in San Diego for the YMCA, and we had to manage the summer budget. I only worked there in the summer, so we did have to manage a summer budget with field trips, staff, supplies, busing. And then when I worked for Greenville Parks and Recreation, again, we had to manage all of the budgeting, the staff, the supplies, and field trips, food, services like that. As far as fiscal responsibility with the schools, I feel like the students should always be put first in that sense. Anything that takes away from the students should just be considered greatly, because we're there for the kids. This is their future, and we want them to be comfortable and confident when they go out into the world.
Okay, fantastic. Third question, and I think we're starting with Cinta on this one. If elected, what priorities would you hope to achieve in your first 2 years on the board?
If elected, I would like to get to the root cause of the achievement gaps and focus on academics in the classroom so we can work out effective strategies to decrease the achievement gaps. I'd like to incorporate more project-based learning programs into the curriculum starting as early as the elementary schools. And I would like to work on involving community members for support and resources so teachers are better able to focus their time on the fundamentals and teaching the basic core skills.
Okay, fantastic. Carly?
Thank you. And it is even difficult to think about 2 years because it's really a one-year term, but
Thought about that when
hopefully
I
you would
read the
get
question.
reelected,
Questions are
right?
live.
So I think, this is one of those things that I've thought a lot about what needs to be happening in our school district. And one of the things that I, over the past year, have really sought to understand, and it relates to what Cinta just said about the achievement gaps, is kind of what is driving that. Last fall, Dr. Clay Cook, who is a consultant that the district hired, he spent some time at one of the school board meetings, I believe it was last October, talking about social emotional learning. And it piqued my interest because I am a psychologist and I'm interested in those kinds of things, and he is a researcher at the University of Minnesota. But he talked a lot about what the district is trying to do in terms of addressing the achievement gap. Social emotional learning is one of those things that there's a whole philosophy behind it, how to implement it. But one of the things he talked about in that meeting, and I followed up with him and had a personal conversation, was this is not being, basically that equity work has been siloed. It hasn't been kind of distributed across the buildings. The social emotional learning curriculum is not basically being rolled out the same across all the buildings. And so if elected, I would really want to try to better understand that. How do we create a more unified approach where building leaders, thank you, where building leaders are collaborating, we're better understanding, basically principals or other leaders can share successes in their schools to help drive that change, and that we can really start better incorporating this equity work, because I think that is what will drive up or basically address some of the achievement gap that we're experiencing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I have one more, I think. And we'll start with you, Carly. In what ways have you contributed your time and talents for the benefits of Lakeville schools and students?
That's another great question. I have poured my heart and soul into this district over the past, I have had a child basically going into, in school in this district for several years, but the last year I've become much more activated. So last fall, I did begin attending the school board meetings and learning more about what was happening in our district. Like I said, there have been multiple meetings that I've had with both our school board leaders as well as our city leaders to understand how do we address some of these problems that we're experiencing in our school board meetings. How do we basically come more together as a learning community? I have basically spent a lot of my personal time connecting with people to gauge what are we doing, what can we do better, how do we pull everybody into this conversation in a way that is going to be effective. So there's been a lot of personal time that I've spent connecting with individuals to make sure that I can understand how this larger system works. Because as a parent, you think you know, and you don't necessarily know how all of those things relate and interact. And so I think I have spent a lot of time to better understand the system. I've spent a lot of time connecting with our local leaders. I've spent time connecting with our leader at Eastview, and basically feel much more educated about how we can address some of the challenges in our community. Finally, I am a mom who cares a lot about my kids. I'm invested. I want every child in this district to thrive. And so the other piece has been connecting with parents, hearing their voices so that I can represent that voice as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Cinta?
When my kids were at Lake Marion, I spent quite a bit of time in the classrooms, when we were allowed in the classrooms, volunteering for the Halloween parties, the Christmas parties, the Valentine's parties. I remember doing the parades. I was a PTO volunteer and even brought my little ones there. They even set up a little PlayStation for them to kind of dilly-dally around in. We also we make donations through Amazon on the smile.amazon. We've been to, well, I have been to every walkathon when my kids were at Lake Marion. I too, just like Carly, have been investing a lot of time in school board meetings and hearing the number of issues that are facing our district, all the way from electric buses to masks to vax to just about anything that you can imagine. And then I did spend a lot of time at the Dakota County Fair just listening to parents, but mainly students, to hear what kind of climate they felt, like what the atmosphere was like this year and last year, and what their biggest concerns were. And even though my kids are not in the district this year, I did come up and volunteer at Ready, Set, Achieve, and still want to be involved in many of the activities and extracurricular things, because our schools are important. What happens in our schools directly affects what happens in our community.
Okay. Appreciate those answers. I think we have time for at least one more. So we'll start with Senta. If elected, how will you listen and act on issues brought by those parents with differing opinions?
I love parents with different opinions. It helps you grow as a person. In fact, I've met with teachers and parents who are willing to meet and have civil and open dialogue with me, take them out to coffee. I feel like a face-to-face meeting is the best way to really get to know somebody. Through a text message or email or what you hear about them, you don't get the real person, the person in the raw. And so I would love to sit down and either have a roundtable discussion with a mediator or even have a cup of coffee with people. I love meeting new people. I love hearing new things, and that's how we grow, and we grow together because, like I said earlier, we are better together.
Thank you. Carly?
Thank you. This is literally what I spend my time doing every day. So as a neuropsychologist, I mentioned earlier that so in my daily work, I see patients who often are older, often have concerns about their cognition, and the patient might think there's nothing wrong, and the care partner or family member has seen a lot of change. And it's hard work because you really do have to figure out, okay, you want to make sure that every person in that room feels heard. You want to make sure they feel connected to one another, that they feel connected to you, and that everybody can get on the same page with the information that you provide. So this is experience that I have had for many years in terms of listening with empathy. I think that's the most important thing is, as people have reached out to me, and there's a lot of heat and there's a lot of fire, and, social media is a very, very hard place to campaign these days, I will say. Even when people come after you, you have to kind of sit back, not let it kind of take away from who you are, and be who you are, remember who you are. And in terms of who I am someone who can listen empathically and hear someone truly, not just think about what I'm going to say next, but listen. And it doesn't mean that that's exactly what drives my decision or opinion. It's just like if the patient with dementia tells me, I don't have anything wrong, I still have to be able to tell them, you have dementia, this is what are our next steps, this is where we're going next. And so it really has to be a collaborative conversation where you pull people in, you explain what the objective evidence is telling you, and you guide the next steps in the next direction. And that's what I would do if I was elected to the board.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, one last question, very important, north or south? Don't answer that question.
I'm not saying.
Do not answer that question. All right, fantastic, thank you. I appreciate the answers we've had tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time. That's the end of the questions, and I guess that brings us to the closing remarks. So I think we gave the starting to Cinta earlier. We'll give you the first crack at the closing for Carly.
Thank you. I again want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, as well as all of those who took their personal time to tune in at home. It has been a pleasure to share my priorities for our learning community, and I am grateful for this opportunity to highlight why you should vote for me in the special election. To briefly review, I am an experienced mental health professional with a strong track record in organizational leadership. I serve on national boards in my profession and therefore understand how boards function effectively through collaboration and consensus building. I am a strong and active supporter of our public school system and believe in empowering our building leaders and educators to inform decision-making that will best serve our children. I promote equity in education to ensure that all of our students know they are seen and valued in the learning environment. I believe we need to prepare our children as 21st century learners who can work effectively in a global workforce. I'm an empathic and an active listener who will work collaboratively with all stakeholders to bring greater unity to our community. Finally, I am a wife and a mom of 3 who has been advocating in this community for over a year now. I am strongly invested in the success of this district. I will fight for my children, and I will fight for yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Cinta.
I just want to thank the Chamber once again for hosting, and I also want to say good luck, Carly, who's here tonight, obviously, and Edward and Diane, wherever you are, if you're watching. I want to leave you with my vision for Lakeville Public Schools. My vision treats every child like the divine creation that they are. My vision encourages a shared commitment to being kind, loving, and understanding of each other. My vision makes parents key stakeholders and invites them into open dialogue regarding their child's education. My vision is that we give all kids the opportunity and resources they need to write their own success stories. My vision prioritizes teaching the core basic subjects over political and social agendas. My vision equips children to think critically while they develop their own worldview with the help of their teachers, families, and faith community. Our school board needs authentic leadership that understands the needs and concerns of each and every family. We need leaders willing to ask tough questions and seek out the truth in the face of adversity. And we need leaders to allow parents to be in the driver's seat when it comes to their kids. And as a school board member, if elected, I will be that leader.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Thank you to you both. You've now done your part. I appreciate everything. On behalf of the businesses of Lakeville and the Lakeville Area Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank you guys for your passion, your willingness to serve. It is not easy to step up and run a campaign, and I appreciate very much everyone who steps up to do that. So thank you. I would like to also thank the City of Lakeville and the staff for the use of the facility and for recording and broadcasting our event tonight. All forums will be rebroadcast on LGTV Spectrum Channel 180 and online at lakevillemn.gov under the Media Center tab. You may also access the link on the Lakeville Chamber's YouTube channel. We hope that this has been a very informative event and helps everyone in their decision-making. Again, thank you for your time tonight. Please turn out and vote. Voting is now open, I know, at City Hall, and I believe at the school district. If you are not a Lakeville resident, then you're able to vote in the at the school district headquarters. Again, Tuesday, November 2nd is Election Day, and there will be live voting across the district. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you.